But what happens when a break breaks you? Our next session is about a life quake. What happens when the ground beneath you moves suddenly and everything is different? And Tarini Mohan has written about these seismic personal shifts. These are moments that redefine who we are and redefine where we are going. A question that all of us at some point in time must have grappled. She will be in conversation with Chaitanya Srivastava, and he's from the publishing, he's a publishing professional from Bloomsbury. Uh, so, without much ado, let's welcome Tarini and Chaitanya. Lifequake!
It's on, yeah. Uh, well, that was a little hiccup in our journey, but I promise that there won't be any more. Uh, Firstly, thank you everyone who's made time to come for this session. We are both very happy and honored. When I was asked to moderate this session, and I was sent a copy of this book, being a publishing professional, I have to admit that I can't read as quickly as I once could. I can't read as much as I could and as fast as I could. And Tarini was behind my back to start discussing already what we are going to be talking about here today. But once I started, I couldn't stop. And not because this book is fiction, and definitely not because it was escapism. It is very real. It has some very difficult things that Tarini is going to tell you herself. But what left with me was perspective. She offered, through her book, she has offered me perspective and will offer all of you the same perspective about how nothing in your life is impossible, even when you're dealing with the most impossible thing. So, on that note, Tarini, if you are ready, uh, I wanted to start the session by understanding that when you were writing this book, Lifequake, what felt more daunting to you? Was it to return to the past, a very difficult time in your life, or was it finding the right words for it to how to describe it?
Thanks, Chaitanya. That's an interesting question. I thought that returning to the past would be highly traumatic, but surprisingly, it wasn't at all. I found that I wasn't afraid of that part of my past as much as I thought I would be. So the hardest moment, I think, was more in the process of writing, like in the isolation. Because I'm an extrovert, I love being around people, and I like to socialize and go out with friends and stuff, and you have to cancel plans and always be at home behind at a desk writing. So yeah, that was the hardest.
Understandably so, but well, look, here you are and you're speaking to all of us. Um, this was last moment, but Tarini and I decided that perhaps the best way to introduce the book to all of you would be if Tarini could read a small excerpt for all of you to know what the book is about, and also to give you a sense of how the book reads. Tarini?
Okay, so some background, some context. I had an accident 15 years ago, due to which I had a traumatic brain injury, and I was in a coma for 3 months. So this is when I was coming back to consciousness after 3 months. Tarini, are you awake? Are you trying to say something? I'm your mama, a voice said to me. It had to be my mother, Rasika, who would determinedly bring me back from the depths of my unconsciousness. She had kept a constant vigil by my bedside, enduring countless sleepless nights in the hospitals in both Kampala and New Delhi, where I lay in deep catatonic slumber. The second time I stirred awake, my parents happened to be at home. The excited nurse who had been giving me an early morning sponge bath rushed to call them and reported that when asked my name, I had answered, Mohan, Tarini Mohan, channeling 007 himself. Soon after, they had rushed over, overwhelmed with joy and relief. There they found their once brilliant daughter lying motionless, her right hand and legs strapped up in a brace. Her speech was unintelligible, her eyes clouded with confusion and pain. Yet the fact that she was awake and speaking was nothing short of a miracle. Asked by my mother what I wanted, I am said to have croaked, jelly. However, staying awake proved too taxing for me, and I retreated into hibernation for several days. So much so that my parents began doubting whether I had actually regained consciousness. They were just beginning to discover that emerging from a coma isn't marked by a certain aha moment like movies has believe. It is instead a painstakingly slow and frustrating process, one that generally unfolds in three distinct stages: post-coma unresponsiveness, a minimally conscious state, and post-traumatic amnesia. This was when my mother remembered what the neurologist had told her, that she should speak to me about an experience only she and I had shared. My mother, being my mother, immediately reached into the world of Bharatanatyam. But for me, growing up with a strong-willed mother who was also my dance teacher wasn't always easy, especially during my rebellious teenage years. Looking back, I realized it must have been a struggle for her too. She must have hoped her daughter would share her passion, but had the joy of contending with an obstinate teen instead. But unquestionably, Bharatanatyam was a source of shared connection. So she began singing the notes of the Kalani Jatiswaram, a dance piece she had taught me when I was 11. Now in the hospital room, she started tapping a complex rhythm with a teaspoon on the bed frame, each note a gentle summons.
Nidha padama gare nirisa. Tarini, enter on the sa.
A round of applause, everyone, for Tarini and that excerpt. So, the moment that Tarini just shared with all of you and the context that she shared, the book also opens right, in the middle of it. Like Tarini gives you no moment to sort of like she's not, is making any kind of wasting any time. She just puts you right into it. And so, Tarini, if I had to ask, what idea, feeling, or hope would you suggest readers here, those who have not read your book particularly, to take in when they first open the pages of your book?
Yeah, so as you start my book, which I hope you will do, you will read about my accident, but I hope you walk in with a feeling of curiosity, not pity, because it's not a book about about that tragedy. It's about the book is about rebuilding from the ground up. When the before is not when the before is not possible anymore. Yeah.
Right. And if I may say so, one of the most striking pieces and also the humbling pieces in your book is about your quest for identity, which changed in an instant, and it took you a really long time to find it. And it's right here in the synopsis, everyone, where there's a quote where Tarini writes, "This wasn't who I had been, wasn't who I was on the inside. I didn't want to live curled up on my parents' or anyone else's lap." And throughout the book, you have shared several moments where you've tried to make sense of this new self. Could you speak a little about that journey?
Yeah, wow, okay. So, the concept of self changed dramatically for me in, I would say, in an instant, but it wasn't an instant at all because it happened gradually. Because first I was thrown in a coma, and where nothing existed, it was just I was just sleeping. I was lost the world. So, and then when I regained consciousness, things started to make sense slowly, slowly. And it well, I found that slowly I found that I was the same person. I just didn't have the armor. I had lost a lot of my abilities, but not the armor. Like, mm, I was still the same person. And that's not just me saying it. Like many of my bosses, friends, family, they all voice it. And but also before I had always constructed my identity around accomplishments, but things I had achieved, milestones, etc. But now when many of the things I could do, I could do a lot of things. I had to reframe the sense of my sense of identity around the things that I could hold on to, like dignity, humor, and a stubborn sense of hope. Yeah.
Makes sense. One of the
Oh, sorry, one more thing. And it's just pure luck. It's just pure luck that my personality wasn't changed. The because it just depends if I had fallen on this side instead of this side or something. It just depends. It's just the luck of the draw. Luck of the draw.
Of course, destiny and luck is very real, and I'm sure all of us believe in it at our own level. So we see that. But Tarini, I'm interested to know that at any point in your writing journey, was there a moment where you felt like, okay, I'm finally finding myself back? Like you just spoke about how you still had these characters while of course your physical body had changed in different ways, but your spirit, your personality, the morals that you hold up, they continued with you. And so you're same but yet not, but you're still the same. But I'm curious to know what was that moment, like maybe a part in the book or at any particular point in time where you realized that, okay, I'm finding myself back.
That's easy. But I really like the fact, the way you said it. Right now, you're the same, but not the same, you're the same. Because that's exactly what it was. That's exactly what it is. I am the same, but I'm not the same, but I am the same, but I'm not. Yeah, so that moment when. Wait, what moment did you ask?
The moment where you realized that, like, what was that moment in your
Then
writing or
find myself back,
in
yeah.
the
Yeah.
journey? Yeah.
So some part of me, some crazy part of me, see, I guess I'll start by saying that an inherent quality of mine is that I like to strive. I like to strive for things. Otherwise, I feel purposeless. So, crazily, when I was had regained, when I had regained consciousness, I was still in bed, and my speech was totally slurred, and much worse. And of course, my mobility and my basically, I was not in good shape. But I decided that I must apply to, I must continue with my plans for my life and apply to business school. And that also an Ivy League. So the part that made me realize that I was finding myself was the part where I applied to Yale and I got in. Because in a way, it showed me that my accident didn't end my story, it just changed directions.
It didn't change a lot of you, and which is why you're still here and you're the same, not the same, but you're still the same. But on that note, Tarini, we also cannot undermine the fact that the book is very vulnerable in different spaces. You've chosen to write about those vulnerability with a lot of strength, honesty, candor. Um, were there any like inspiration? I mean, not inspiration, but like, were there any forms of written media or books, movies, anything that, or even songs for that matter, like that that helped you along your journey to hone your book that in the form that it is available today?
Thank you, Chaitanya, for reading my acknowledgements. Yeah, okay, so I first address the music bit. I just, while I love music, I can't listen to music while writing. It's far too distracting because even jazz, I like to hear each note. So my distraction levels are profound if I listen to music. So one thing, when I had writer's block, my cure for writer's block is reading other books, other writers whose prose I admire, whose prose or style I admire. And those were Sulekha Jawad's Between Two Kingdoms, Trisha Millie's Central Park Jogger, Dana Tartt's Secret History.
Love that book.
Yeah, you should. If you haven't read it, you must. James Doty's Into the Magic Shop. There are far too many.
Yes. We can, but I think that
Yeah,
was an
but
exhaustive list.
yeah,
But
but it's all listed. They're all listed in my acknowledgements. So please go out and buy my book.
yes. Um, Throughout the book, Tarini, one of the things that you also, I mean, you don't center it, but it's omnipresent, is the role that your village, your family, your near and dear ones, your well-wishers, friends, who showed up for you in different ways, in different forms. Um, could you tell us a little about like what was the experience? Because oftentimes, like I have a friend who was in a similar, not in a similar, but like was in an accident, is paralyzed, is also like paralyzed partially. And one of the things that he was very upset about, like we as friends, we just always kept asking him like, are you okay, are you okay? But he didn't want to be asked okay because he was not okay. He just wanted us to talk about everyday stuff like what's happening, which girl are we crushing on, or what new movies do we want to go to,
I totally get him.
Right? So when your friends and families, your well-wishers were showing up for you, um, were there moments like similar experiences, or did they surprise you by any means in the ways that they showed up for you?
Yeah. So while there's no instances like that I remember, the one thing that did surprise me was that the people who showed up were not necessarily the people who I was close to before the accident. It's like a prime example is other two friends I had just met in Uganda when my accident happened, and they had been my friends for just 6 weeks while I was there. I had been there for 6 weeks. I had left New York City to move to Uganda to work there for 1 year, and I made friends there, uh, and they had no connection longer than 6 weeks. And no connection with my family. Yet they showed up night after night at the hospital, and, and they slept overnight. They were just mine and my parents' rocks. So I guess I've stopped asking too many questions for who showed up and why some people didn't show up. In the end, you just feel grateful for the people who showed up.
Yes, the one who showed up no matter what matters in whatever ways that they showed up. I have to share this, Tarini. I know you'll hate me for saying this, but
Don't think inspiring.
but one of the things that Tarini was very sure about today, everyone, you must know this, is that she wanted this session to be really funny and humorous. And when I was doing the questions for this session, I was before I sent hit on the email, I was very scared because, as a person who has not lived this experience, as those of you who will choose to pick up the book, you will see for yourself how difficult it is, what Tarini has gone through. And so I was constantly at a tussle whether my questions are okay to ask, are they sensitive, hopefully they're not offensive, etc. And then Tarini goes like, you could have just like called me up and you could have just checked with me. Did you not read my book? I am so funny. And that's true. I think I question myself a little bit about the ways that I interpret books and what I get out of it. But Tarini is also extremely funny and humorous in her account, so much so that at certain points of time as a reader, you are a little, it shocks you because she's talking about something very, very serious, but then she takes humor as an approach. So on that note, Tarini, I wanted to understand, was this a conscious choice in terms of like writing to make the book more palatable, or is it or is humor truly your defense mechanism, or in this point of time, like while you were going through once you woke up from the accident, or would you say that humor has always been something that you have had it in you, that spark?
Well, I will. I think I've always been pretty good humored. But the accident surely it definitely changed the shape of my humor slightly. My humor shifted. It became slightly more. Mm, it became slightly more cutting, and humor just helps you carry the pain, and also, but it also helps you connect with people. So it's very hard to connect with people when you're always talking about depressing things, and it's easier to connect with people when you're funny.
It does, it does. I mean, who likes the pessimistic, not funny people? Not me. Uh, but I'm wondering, and I know we've spoken a little bit about this, but uh, is there a moment, or is there a memory that you may have from the life before the accident that must have? Oh wow, that's a big ant. Sorry. Is there a moment or a thought or a memory from the before the accident that felt really catastrophic back then, or something that you felt could like break apart your world, but in hindsight and in retrospect feels rather funny to you?
I don't think that I can't pinpoint anything that I thought was catastrophic then that is funny now, but is definitely less catastrophic. Like now, sorry, basically my accident shifted shifted the levels of catastrophe, what defines catastrophe. I'm sorry, I'm blanking. Yeah.
So I will ask you something that you've said at a lot of places and in a lot of interviews, and I think it must be said here as well. It must get discussed here as well about brain injuries. Um, that brain injury is often very invisible. People don't necessarily know enough about it, and what are the repercussions that one has to deal with, has to live with. And it's not just you; it's also your family. It's your near and dear ones, everyone. So, what is it about brain injury a message that you definitely want everyone here in the audience to sort of take home today?
Well, one thing is definitely that what you see is not always the full picture. There's a lot beneath the surface. What you see is just a tip of the iceberg. So always believe when somebody tells you their needs, always believe it and always act with kindness and respect if you can. And also, the toughest thing for me, at least, is that recovery to the outside world. Recovery means going back to normal, like going back to how you were before. But that's not recovery in a brain injury. Recovery is also how much you accepted the of who of the person you're becoming and how much you're loving that person.
Yeah, that's a beautiful thought.
And your community, the people who help you love you, who you're becoming, you begin to love them too.
Yes, that's a very beautiful thought. But on that note, one of my final questions before we open it to the floor is that so many of us, we spoke about this right in the beginning, that all of us are going through our own life quake, if I may call it, big, small, absolutely crazy, bizarre, whatever that life quake may be for all of you here in the audience. Is there a message that you would like to leave with all of them, whatever their life quake is?
Yeah, well, first go at your own pace, and in other words, you do you. Don't worry about how other people are responding or perceiving your progress of a recovery or like progress or improvement or anything. You do you. And also, wait one second.
I think you do you is a thought that has always been with all of us, and I champion that thought myself. I don't want to take away from your message, but yes, I would also say that you do you, and being our most unique and authentic self is always going to be the way that we all shine. Whether and whatever that may be, whether you're different in terms of differently abled, different gender, different sexuality, different caste, different religion, whatever it is. I believe we all have to find acceptance and learn to appreciate that part about us, and then be very proud about it. And I think that's the message that you want to
Yeah.
put out.
Thank you.
Yes.
I mean, you can ask me about the catastrophe movement now. I, I,
You wanna add on?
Yeah.
Okay, okay. The question was back then that what was the while you were writing, what was that moment where you finally uh, figured out that, oh, you're coming back to yourself, and in that moment you were talking about the catastrophe.
you, as far as I remember, you were asking me what was the moment that felt catastrophic before.
Oh yeah. Okay, that one. Yes, yes. Before, so like you mentioned that how when you've gone through a catastrophe as big as this, your purview on what catastrophe back then had changed. But is there something more that you would like to add?
Yeah, I just want to add that what felt catastrophic then now just feels temporary. And and what maybe felt catastrophic then just feels like life happening. So it's just the levels of catastrophe that are different, that changed. And basically, writing this memoir, it wasn't like, because you can't rewrite the past, but you can rewrite your relationship to it.
Yes, that's a lovely thought. And on that note, a big round of applause for Tarini here. Her book Lifequake is available at the festival bookstore. But before we close, we do have about 6 minutes. So if there are any questions on the floor, we have volunteers who can pass you the mic. Just raise your hand and we'll get a mic to you. Ma'am in the yellow suit.
Good afternoon, everybody. Hello, Tarini. Much love and more part to you. Loved listening to what you had to say. I just wanted to ask, was writing the book, the process of writing the book, was it cathartic for you? Did it help in, bringing out emotions, anger, gratitude, whatever? Was it cathartic for you? Thank you.
Yeah, this is a very common question asked to members. But there's a saying by Flannery O'Connor. She said, I know what I think when I read what I say. And that was true for me. My mom helped me process all, it helped me put all the things I had gone through, all the different things, and form a narrative around it. It helped me process it. So in that sense, if you call that cathartic, then yeah.
Thank you. Anyone else? Sorry, the sun is like shining. Oh, right here. Yes.
Hi, Tarini. It's Cookie. I have a question for you about the word inspiring and why you don't like it. I understand completely where you're coming from, but maybe I think it would be instructive for all of us to hear rather more explicitly what is it about that is maybe something that we should be mindful of when we think about stories like this and we encounter life quakes like yours. Why maybe we shouldn't resort to that word to describe and characterize what your story does for us.
Thank you. I should have expected that. So personally, I really don't like it when people I don't know just look at me and see four wheels in a wheelchair and say, oh, that's so inspiring. It's like, are they inspired by wheelchairs? Are they inspired by wheels? I don't get it. But jokes aside, I think that it's easier, it's far too easy to just avoid discussing disability and just pack it up in a tidy word or phrase and just say, oh, it's inspirational, rather than engaging in conversation about hard stuff. So, firstly, if you okay, like rather than inspirational, I would prefer it if somebody said, oh, somebody called me an author, a, a development professional, a storyteller, a funny person. There's so many things. So, and and some days, sure, I am inspiring also. So you should, I feel, I feel that when you call somebody inspiring, you should say I was inspired by X, Y, Z. Just not have it as an empty conversation. I hope I answered your question.
We have time for one last question. Yes, okay, one last question. Anybody? It's open to the floor. Yes, there's a lady right in the center.
Hi Tarini, I'm Shrishti. Thank you so much for starting off the session by saying that you're not looking for pity and that you're inviting the readers to come in with curiosity. I really appreciated that. And thank you for sharing such a deeply personal part of your life. We really appreciate that. My question to you is, as a person who acquired this disability, I'd love to understand what were some accessibility barriers that you didn't necessarily think of previously and that you experience today, so that there is a takeaway for us listeners to also be mindful of that going forward?
Boy, this could take forever.
That's a very
That's
good question.
that's a very good question. Thank you so much for asking. It could be valuable for every litfest, every organization, every institution, even the government. Well, there's so many aspects of accessibility that I didn't even consider before my accident. Like I, I hate to say it, but I didn't ever look at something as simple as the slope of the ramp. Like ramps here in India generally tend to just be put just so they can say we have a ramp. It's like this, rather than this. So one day my brother sat on my wheelchair and when he wanted to show me how to go down the ramp safely, he went down the ramp and he fell off. So yeah, it's not that funny, but and I'm thinking of there are far too many accessibility barriers. Like I can name like 25, like parking spots, especially social places are not accessible, and even like this lit fest venue, like there's a step there, there's a step there, so it's like even places that say they're accessible are not, because people just need to do one thing, and that is have a person with a disability at the end user evaluate if it's accessible, and that shouldn't be so hard. But so incorporate the end user experience in your evaluation.
Okay. Anything? Oh, no? Okay. Okay. So on that note, everyone, that was Lifequake by Tarini Mohan. at the Bangalore Literature Festival. Thank you for being a very patient and a very kind audience to Tarini and to us. As I said, the book is at the festival bookstore, and Tarini would be at the signing lounge to sign copies and interact with you on a personal
Thank you,
space.
Chaitanya.
Thank you, everyone.